Hi everyone. We're getting to the end of Module 1, Learner Readiness. If you haven't done so already, please make sure that you work through all of the learning activities in Module 1. Monday is the start of week 2, so I wanted to give you an overview of Module 2 and also the 7 Habits assignment, which will be due at the end of week 2 according to the date on your syllabus. You can find your assignment in two places. So if we look at our learning modules, and we're going to be working on Module 2, you can see that you have all of the learning activities that you'll be working through in this module, and then the assignment will appear at the bottom. You can also find assignments by clicking on Assessments and Dropbox. And here you can see all of the assignments that you'll be doing this term and their associated due dates. If I click on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People Part 1 assignment, the first thing that we see is this assignment will be submitted to Turnitin. You may have already learned about Turnitin if you have done the Academic Honesty module on your program page, but I wanted to just talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to show you an example of a program page. This is the program page for Hospital Unit Clerk. It's okay if that's not the program that you're in. All of the program pages include this information. So in the table of contents on your program page, you'll see the Academic Honesty module. I highly encourage you to work through the entirety of this module. I'm going to focus on the How do I cite and reference my sources section. And in particular, I'm going to look at Turnitin. So Turnitin is a software that every submission that is submitted through a Dropbox in D2L is run through. So that means not only all of the submissions at Bow Valley College, but at every institution that uses Turnitin across the world. So it's a huge database. It works through, it compares submissions to internet resources, but also to other submissions through Turnitin. So that means if a student chose to just copy and paste an entire Wikipedia article and then submit that as their own work, Turnitin would recognize that as that information coming from somewhere else. It also means that if someone used a friend's paper and submitted that, Turnitin would also recognize that as information as coming from somewhere else. When you submit through Turnitin into the Dropbox, you will receive a Turnitin similarity score, and you can see that sort of what that looks like right down here. So this one, in the example, the Turnitin score was 0. That means that the entirety of the text in this submission was original. The student did not use any outside sources. But even if you receive a Turnitin score that is not 0, that doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. So if you receive a score that is more than 0, you can click on your report and you can see that Turnitin will highlight where those sources came from. So if you did some research for an assignment, whether that was say like an online article, it will recognize that that's come from somewhere else. What Turnitin is not able to do is recognize when you have cited appropriately. So it will highlight the text that has come from somewhere else, but it doesn't know that you have maybe put your in-text citation properly. That's okay. When I read assignments, I can see that you have cited appropriately, so I would not think that just because you have used outside sources, that immediately means that you didn't cite them properly. This text at the bottom here is really useful to use in helping you determine whether you have cited appropriately. So if you look on your report and you have highlighted text, these questions to ask yourself are really useful. Are there quotation marks around the words that I copied? Did I use an in-text text citation? If you answered both yes to these questions, that would mean that your paper was fine. If you answered no, that would mean that it could be considered plagiarism, so you would need to go back and do these things in order to avoid this. Academic honesty is taken very seriously at the college, and there's consequences if you're found to have done something that was academically dishonest. So please make sure that you have worked through this academic honesty module and that you understand what it is talking about. If you have any questions or if you're unsure if you have cited something properly, please reach out and ask me before the due date of an assignment. You are able to submit as many files as you like to the Dropbox. So if you submit your assignment to the Dropbox and you check your Turnitin report and you see that you have not used quotation marks where necessary or cited where necessary, that's an opportunity for you to go back and do those things, and you can resubmit your assignment to the Dropbox again. It's recommended that you leave 24 hours in between submissions to the Dropbox. That's because Turnitin, if it's less than 24 hours, Turnitin will compare your first file to your second file, and you would get a 100% originality score. Whereas if you waited 24 hours, it no longer compares to your first file. So make sure that when you are submitting assignments, you give yourself that time. Try not to leave it right until the very last minute. Give yourself some time to submit, check your Turnitin report, maybe make some changes and turn it in again. But again, I look through all the reports, and I obviously read your assignments in detail, so I can tell when you have cited properly and when you haven't. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our assignment page now. So the first thing I want you to take a look at is the rubric. So the rubric is how you are going to be graded on this assignment. Please read the rubric carefully before you begin your assignment, because this will give you an idea of what to strive for. So the criteria are on the left, and then there are the various levels at which you can score in each category. When I grade your assignment, I use this rubric, and then when I publish your feedback, you're able to look at the rubric and see where you scored in each category. So now I'm going to click on the attachment for the assignment. So the first thing you'll notice is that it tells you that this assignment is worth 5% of your overall grade. And then we have an assignment overview. So one of the reasons that we are reading the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, over the course of this term is because this book is really good at teaching you how to self-evaluate and self-reflect on your performance in the workplace, but also personally. When you scroll down to the directions, you'll see that there are 2 parts to this assignment. You must complete both parts. Part A is based on the chapter Inside Out from the 7 Habits, and there are 3 topics you can choose from. You just need to choose one topic. For this part of the assignment, you're going to be writing a reflective response that should be at least 250 words. It's natural for students to feel a bit anxious or overwhelmed when they have to start writing, especially if you have not been in a situation where you're writing very often. I always recommend just sort of relaxing. Take the stress out of it. This is actually a good assignment to start with because you're writing about yourself, which is something that you know about very well. Just do some free writing, some brainstorming. Don't worry if it's coming out perfectly. Just get the ideas down on the page or on the screen, as it were. And then you can come back and revise and edit until it's at the quality that you want it to be. But try not to psych yourself out right at the beginning. Part B is based on the circle of influence that Covey talks about in the book. For Part B, you are going to be creating a visual presentation using digital tools. So this can mean a few things. You could choose to create a PowerPoint or a PowerPoint poster, a digital collage, charts or tables or graphs. What's important that you are using a digital tool. That means that I don't want you to be hand drawing something and scanning it onto the computer. You need to be using digital tools. The other important thing to note is that all visual representations must be original. No cutting and pasting from the internet is permitted. So what this means is if, for example, you wanted to create a digital collage. If you were creating a collage and you wanted to use some images that you found online, that would be fine, as long as you are creating something unique. What I don't want you to do is Google circle of influence and choose one of these images that comes in the image search and use that as your assignment. You need to be creating something new. Under the directions are the assignment guidelines. So the first one says part A and B should be in a single document. I'm not actually super intense about this part. If it's in 2 documents, that's fine. You can submit as many files as you need to in the Dropbox. The full topic and question should be clearly typed on the document. I shouldn't have to guess what topic or question you're answering. Part A must be at least 250 words. Make sure that you are double spacing and using 12 size font. Make sure you have a title page that includes the name of the assignment, your name, your ID number, and the date, and my name. As always, make sure that you are taking the time to proofread for correct spelling, grammar, punctuation, and syntax. Something very useful is the Bow Valley College APA formatting guide. I would recommend bookmarking this because you'll be using it quite a bit throughout the term. At the very minimum in this assignment, you should be referencing Stephen Covey's book. And then it talks again about how all assignments are submitted through Turnitin and brings up to do the academic honesty module in your program page again. So once you are done your assignment, you are able to, when you scroll down to the bottom where it says submit assignment, you would click add a file. You can attach as many files as you need to, and you would click submit, and then you receive a little notification saying you have successfully submitted your assignment. Once the due date has passed, then I will grade all of the assignments, and I will then publish your grade and the feedback when I'm done. And I'll always post a news item with some overall feedback and letting you know that that's been done. I recommend that you don't wait until the last minute to start on your assignments, because if you have questions that you want me to answer and you leave it until the very last minute, there's no guarantee that I'll be able to get back to you before the assignment is due. So please make sure that you are starting to consider your assignment at least several days before the due date. If you have any questions as you're working through Module 2, please let me know. And if you're working on the assignment, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.